Bonjour à tous, merci de nous rejoindre pour ce nouveau webinaire de French Morning. Pardon pour les quelques minutes de retard d'un problème technique, mais on est là, c'est l'essentiel. Merci beaucoup, merci à Giza Rollin d'être ici depuis Raleigh, North Carolina. On va parler en anglais aujourd'hui. Vous pourrez bien sûr continuer de poser vos questions en français comme d'habitude. Giza parle très bien français, mais on pensait que pour des raisons de fluidité, de simplicité, c'était mieux si on le faisait en anglais, donc ça va être le cas. Merci encore à Giza et à SKEMA d'être ici pour parler du sujet du jour. C'est donc étudier, faire un BBA, un Global BBA aux États-Unis, et pas seulement aux États-Unis. On va voir pourquoi, on va voir comment. Vous êtes soit des parents, soit des lycéens qui s'intéressaient à cette possibilité. Donc, on va vous en dire plus. Bien sûr, comme toujours, vous pouvez nous poser toutes les questions, soit dans le chat, soit dans les commentaires si vous nous suivez en direct sur les réseaux sociaux. Et puis, vous pouvez aussi même lever la main si vous êtes sur le Zoom pour pouvoir poser votre question en direct si vous le souhaitez. Voilà, merci Giza, je vais vous laisser la parole. Just so you can tell us a little bit more about what SKEMA is and what the Global BBA is exactly, and we'll have more questions along the way, obviously.
Parfait. Merci
The floor is
beaucoup,
yours.
déjà. Merci. Je vais essayer déjà en français pour la introduction. Je m'appelle Gisèle Rollin, je suis la directrice de SKEMA Business School ici aux États-Unis. On est situé à Raleigh, North Carolina. Je sais qu'il y a beaucoup de familles françaises qui connaissent SKEMA peut-être en Europe. On est situé à Paris, à Lille et à Sofia. Et aussi, on a des campus en Chine, au Brésil, ici aux États-Unis. So here we are in Raleigh, North Carolina, right here in the capital of North Carolina. We are actually located on a very large American campus, which is the North Carolina State University. But maybe to begin, what is the Global BBA? The Global BBA is a bachelor's in business administration for undergraduate students. That is the way that I would explain it to American students or French American students. With my team in France, we call that the Global BBA. What it means is that on all of our campuses worldwide, partout dans le monde, we have the launch of the BBA all at the same time in Brazil, in France, in the United States, and now in South Africa, in Cape Town. So every fall, the BBA launches all at the same time. It's a global BBA. You start in your first year, which is your freshman year. You continue to your sophomore year, your junior year, and your senior year here in the United States or on our campuses abroad. What that also means, because it is a global BBA, it means that our students are able to travel from one campus to the other seamlessly, so without interruption. So we have this idea of study abroad. I know that a lot of American students study abroad for a semester. The differentiating point here with SKEMA is that this is for a full year or more to another SKEMA campus. So we have a lot of our students that start in Raleigh or start in Sofia Antipolis or start in Brazil, and then they move to another SKEMA campus seamlessly. It does not interrupt their global BBA, which is why we call it the Global BBA. Up until 3 years ago, it was just a BBA that started in Sofia Antipolis in the south of France. And 3 years ago, we launched the Global BBA, which now means that all of these students can launch from their first year in the United States or in Brazil or in France or in South Africa. Which is great, which means that students don't have to wait until their third year to travel abroad. They can come and start straight here on the campus in Raleigh, North Carolina from year one. So we're recruiting and talking to students here in the US that are domestic, and we're also talking to a lot of French families that are expats here in the US. Maybe they're here for 1 or 2 or 10 years, and their children want to remain in the SKEMA French education system because one day they might move back to France. And if they do, they have the SKEMA Business School Global BBA degree, which is recognized by the French Ministry of Education. If they decide to live in the United States, they also have the recognition of NC State University, North Carolina State University, which is our partner university here in Raleigh. We have partnerships with other universities as well, Florida International University, Western Carolina University. So we have other partnership universities, which means that the students that do that 4th year here with us in the US at a partner university can pick up that university degree as well. A very quick way to look at it would be that you get a Global BBA, you get 2 degrees in 4 years, an American degree that is recognized by the United States and a French degree that is recognized by the French Ministry of Education.
You had a presentation, a few slides to share if you want.
Yes, I will do that right now. Put it on presentation mode. Great. Can you see my screen okay?
Sure.
Okay, great. So it's the Global BBA, Bachelor's in Business Administration. Today, I'm going to focus on the US campus, but I'm also going to speak about how you can launch your degree in France, in Brazil, in South Africa. So again, why choose the SKEMA Global BBA? It's a 4-year level degree accredited by the Ministry of Education. So that's good to know for French families in the United States. It's 100% in English. So all courses are taught in English. We do have foreign language courses, but everything is taught in English. If you want to take a foreign language, you can. We have 120 nationalities on all of our campuses. So even though we are a French-rooted and very proud business school, we also emphasize the fact that we're an international business school with lots of different nationalities on campus and celebrating the diversity that we have. Our program runs over 5 continents. And then getting into the details, there's 14 different specializations for the BBA. Here's a snapshot of where we're located worldwide. Here we are in Raleigh, USA, North Carolina, right there, about 2.5 hours from the coast. So that's a great weekend trip for the students or families. We are also located in Brazil, Belo Horizonte. We have 3 campuses in France, Paris, Nice, and Sophia Antipolis, and Lille. We have a campus in Suzhou, China. And we have our newest campus that opened just in the last 2 years in South Africa at Stellenbosch. So this is how we're globally connected. And again, our BBA launches on all campuses. Students have the opportunity to travel for a year or 2 abroad seamlessly without interrupting their global BBA within that SKEMA community. I'm going to focus now on Raleigh and what it means for here and what we're trying to do here in the United States. This is really important. It's how you can get that SKEMA degree, but at the same time, get the American degree from North Carolina State University. So in order to get a SKEMA Business School degree, you must spend the first 2 years in Raleigh. The same goes with Sophia Antipolis. If you want to get the degree from Sophia Antipolis, you must spend the first 2 years in Sophia. So here in Raleigh, you spent year 1 and year 2 in Raleigh. Your 3rd year, you must travel abroad. It's part of our DNA. It's what we encourage students to do. And it's not for a semester, it's for a full year or 2. So that 3rd year is really key. You can either go to a SKEMA campus abroad, China, Brazil, South Africa, or France. And then the 4th year, what a lot of students are doing is they come back to Raleigh, North Carolina, and they study at North Carolina State University. So that's one option. So because they study that 4th year, the full year at North Carolina State University, they get the double degree from SKEMA and North Carolina State University, and they only spent 1 year with North Carolina State University. Through our partnership with North Carolina State University, they recognize that for the first 3 years, we followed a very customized business program where all of those courses transfer to NC State University for that 4th year. So we have a partnership with them, an agreement with them to say, okay, we have 25 spots for SKEMA students the 4th year. In order for them to get that NC State University degree, they must follow this curriculum. So we have a very strict curriculum in place, and they must have a 3.0 or above after the 3rd year in order to matriculate to North Carolina State University. So this is an option, again, where a family is in the United States and says, my son or daughter wants to stay within the French education system. They want to get a business school degree from SKEMA Business School, which is recognized in France. But if that student wishes to also pick up the American degree that last year, they're able to do that. And then, down the line, if they move back to France, great, they have the SKEMA Business School degree. If they want to work back in the United States, a lot of companies, NCSU, North Carolina State University, is a big name school, so they recognize that in the United States. All to say, though, that SKEMA is also recognized and licensed by the University of North Carolina Education System. So regardless, so that's one way to do it. 2 years in Raleigh, 1 year abroad, 1 year at NC State, 4 degrees, or 2 degrees in 4 years. Another way to do it is to spend all 4 years here in Raleigh. You can do that, or all 4 years within SKEMA and not pick up a partner university degree. So for example, you could do 2 years in Raleigh, 1 year in Brazil, 1 year in France. Okay, great. You get the SKEMA Business School degree, and you also get the SKEMA degree from France, but you don't get the partner university degree because you didn't spend any time there. So I have more details, and if anyone wants more questions into the different pathways, you can contact me, and I am happy to go through that further. Talking about the business school degree here in Raleigh. So here you have 14 different specializations. This encompasses all of our programs worldwide. The one here highlighted in orange is the International Business degree. This is the one that we're focusing on here in Raleigh, North Carolina. If the students come here for the first 2 years, then they travel abroad the third year, they get the International Business School degree from Raleigh, North Carolina. If they decide to do, let's say, supply chain, that's in Suzhou, China. If they decide to do e-commerce, that's in Lille. If they decide to do marketing, that's in Sofia. So right now I'm focusing for the United States, our campus here in Raleigh, but the options are endless on our other campuses. A snapshot of our Global BBA. 91% of our students are recruited after graduation. The average salary is $50K and above, and 61% of our graduates work internationally. Again, the school focuses on mobility. We're looking for students that are globally minded, international business focused, and would like to work in other parts of the world. Ideally, they speak 1, 2, or 3 languages. Here's some rankings, French rankings. We are 3rd best by l'étudiant. Here's 5th best BBA in 2022 by Challenge, and Le Point 4th best BBA in 2020. We also have some MSc rankings. We're ranked 3rd worldwide by the Financial Times, 3rd worldwide by the Financial Times for the finance program, which is also duly noted. Taking it a little bit further into academics, a little bit deeper here. Here you have some classes, year 1, 2, and 3, an example of some of the classes that the students take. Now, the program is customized, so it is for students that are very business focused. There is not a lot of room for electives in different things outside of business, so that's something to keep in mind. It's for students that know that they want to study business, possibly entrepreneurship, maybe finance, digital marketing. Those are the courses that are offered, and they kind of stay in that boundary there. Our staff here in Raleigh, North Carolina, comes from all over the world. We have visiting faculty that come from Brazil, they come from France often. So this is something key, I think, that a lot of young students don't get these days, but we have visiting faculty from all of our global campuses here to Raleigh to spend 3 to 4 weeks with our students on a program. And that's key in developing, again, that global perspective. A lot of our faculty here are also not only from SKEMA, but from NC State University, obviously, that's our partnership, Duke University, and University of North Carolina, and other surrounding universities. A lot of these faculty as well, it's worth noting, are not just faculty, they're adjunct faculty, which means that they're working in the industry. We like to hire faculty that spend half of the time in the industry and half of the time in the classroom, which is why they're adjunct faculty. So again, if your son or daughter is looking for that real world experience, that's something that we can focus on, that we do focus on, is that education extends beyond the classroom and our faculty are coming in from industry. In addition to the classroom pieces, we have a lot of clubs and activities. We focus a lot on data science that I'll get into earlier, and we have a very strong entrepreneurial program called SKEMA Ventures. As part of our partnership with North Carolina State University, all of the SKEMA students that join us are also NC State University students, which means that they have access to everything that NC State University offers their students. Now, NC State University, which a lot of people outside North Carolina may not know, is the largest public university in North Carolina with over 40,000 students. 40,000 students. We have about 600 to 700 students with us a year here at SKEMA within our community. And if you can imagine it, there's a big NC State community with all of these resources and offerings. Our students come roughly 600 or 700, and they have access to everything the NC State students do as part of our partnership. That's the student union, this world-class library, everything, sports, clubs, gyms, athletic events. And so you can imagine that for a European student or a Latin American student coming in for this experience of what an American university life is like, it's all here in a nutshell for them. They can have access to all of it because they are a SKEMA student. Today, I can proud to say that we have a student with us that's going to be on the on the Olympic team representing France, and he's studying with us today in Raleigh. So he's actually training with the NC State swimming team while he's doing his studies, and then he'll go to the Olympics for France in the next Olympics. So our students really enjoy all of that. Lastly, housing options. A lot of parents ask, well, if my son or daughter studies with SKEMA in the US, what does that look like? Where do they room? Where do they live? So we've got all of that covered. Again, because of our partnership with NC State University, all of the SKEMA students have access to all the housing opportunities. So the students have a choice. Hey, do I want to study with do I want to house with an American student and have roommates that are American? Absolutely. So they can do that. At the same time, we understand that already being abroad is a lot for them. So if they want to come to SKEMA, but house and room with their SKEMA friends from the area, they can do that too and have their apartments. Sometimes we have students that say, hey, I'm abroad. This is already a big deal. I want to stay within the SKEMA community here in Raleigh. Okay, that's fine. And then we have other students that say, I'm going to take full advantage of this opportunity and really engage with the American student population. Moving on to applications, we run what is called the US Standardized Application System, which is Common App. Every university is on Common App. It's the standard in the United States, and that's what we're using as well. So the website's at the bottom. You go to Common App, you type in SKEMA Business School, SKEMA Business School pops up, and there's a standard application that all universities use. In addition to that, if families wanted to have a one-on-one with me or our admissions team, they could always email me to understand the application process better, since it might be new for foreign families. But you will need official transcripts. SAT and ACT scores are being waived right now due to the past 2 years with COVID. Write-in supplements are necessary, letters of recommendation, and finally an interview that is done with me or our academic dean so that we can meet the student in person. I went over this earlier, but it's basically the double degree opportunity with NC State. You get an international business degree and a degree from NC State University here in Raleigh in 4 years. And that 4th year, you might be asking yourself, well, if my son or daughter go to NC State that 4th year for the American degree, what can they study? And these are the different areas of study: finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, supply chain, human resources, and IT. And that's it. I'm here as a director of development for the Raleigh campus. always eager to meet new families and students, European or Latin or French or American or not. We're recruiting both domestic students and international students for fall 2022. So applications had been open through spring, and we're continuing to recruit students. We have about 11 spaces left for the fall 2022 recruitment year or season. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup. Continuez de poser vos questions, évidemment, dans le chat, où vous pouvez appuyer sur le petit bouton Raise your hand, and we will give you the floor. On a une question. I'm going to switch to English, maybe easier. We have a question about tuition.
Yes.
How much?
Yeah, great. So tuition is $20,000 a year. We are a private school, $20,000 a year. We do have scholarship opportunities for up to $6,000 a year. So that could mean tuition of $14,000 a year. Something to consider, though, is that does not include housing. So you would have to look at housing. And that, as a parent myself of a college student, that's the first thing I look at too, is how much is tuition, and then how much is housing, how much is all of that. So housing is about $2,000 to $3,000 a semester at NC State. Again, the housing slide that I showed you earlier here. So, it's just under 20K, let's say, for the whole thing. If you were to apply for the scholarship, what we encourage all families to do. I can tell you that if you do a little research, as I have when looking at colleges, private schools are could be double the price of that. So even though it is a lot of money, I understand it is actually very competitive to other private schools in the country. We do not do FAFSA, which is federal funding at this time. A lot of domestic students ask us about this. We are not quite there yet. We will be there in the next year or two. But today we do not do federal funding from the government. So we're able to provide scholarships from SKEMA to help with tuition costs.
What about the housing for the year abroad, for example, in France, or
yes,
their
yes.
campus, or students out of campus?
No. So whether you go to Sofia, Antipolis, Paris, Brazil, I've got my counterparts there that are doing the same thing, same type of thing, not necessarily the American university experience that I'm showing you here, but that cultural, that different local experience. But there is housing. The tuition stays the same. I think it's less, actually. It's not more. It's definitely less. I think it's like 12,000 euros a year. So I think that's less. It's not definitely not more. Here it's more. And housing is also available, but not included. And I can also connect you with the admissions team in the different countries if you wanted to know more exactly about what the 4 years, but I can tell you it's not more.
Okay, I think maybe we can stop the sharing, screen sharing. Fantastic. Is there any language requirements since it's an international school and you have a year abroad? How does it work? Do I need to speak French to be able to go to France, or?
Not at all. Not at all. The full, again, we're a French-rooted business school, but everything is done completely in English, and we try to be as local in our country as possible. So all classes are in English. There is absolutely no French requirement at all. If anything, there's an English requirement for the TOEFL or the TOEIC, just to make sure that you're able to get by in your classes for the English. If you're a native of the country, of the US, there is no language requirement. We have a lot of students that are at the French-American schools, at the lycées, which we have to look at the French, at the TOEFL score and review the baccalaureate and ensure that it's in alignment with our requirements. But no, English is the only language you must know. When you get here, we encourage you obviously to take on other languages just as part of the philosophy of the school.
You talked about the requirements to get in. So SAT, you require either SAT or ACT on a normal year. I understand that for not for 2022 because of the pandemic, but usually you have to take the SAT or ACT, right?
Yeah. Normally for college in the US, you must take the ACT and the SAT. We are waiving it for this fall. We'll probably pick it back up again in the following years. And again, I can talk about grade point average, GPA, so you have an idea.
Yeah.
We're looking, right now we're getting students 3.5 or above. We're getting 4.0 students, 4.3, which are really excellent caliber students. We like to look at the whole student. We're, of course, interested to make sure that these students are academically inclined, business focused, they've done well in their education. So we require a 3.0. Although because we have limited spaces, we do tend to take the students that are more on the 3.4 or above scale. And again, we look at this as a holistic recruitment process. Who are you? Where are you from? What languages do you speak? What do you like to do? Are you going to be a good ambassador for the school? What is your dream, in life to, how are you going to make the world a better place? All those things, how are you involved in clubs? We are a strong believer of that. We're looking for leaders of the future, not just grades, although it is very competitive and rigorous.
Since we're talking about admission, Anne has a question about early admission. Are you doing early admissions or not?
Well, for fall, we are past the early process. We do what we have been doing.
But for next year, for the following year, for example.
For the following year, early admission is before the holiday, so in November. Our application for 2023 of fall next year will open up in September, August, probably August, and then early admission for SKEMA in the US will happen in November. Then after that, we go on a rolling basis until all places are full, and that is through the end of May.
Okay. Is it early admission, early action, or
Yes. Early action.
Which one is it? Early action. Yeah.
You would have a response within 2 weeks of that early application.
Okay.
And our recruitment, the way that we work too is every 15th of the month is a deadline. So we review the applications submitted that month. So we have 10 days now. We have a handful of applications in our admissions team under review right now. And on the 15th of April, we will review those and make selections for the remaining seats for fall 2022.
Another question from Anne about the year in France. Can you pick any of the locations between the three sites in France? How does it work? Is it all your choice, or does it depend on your grades or anything else?
It could, you have choices in all campuses. I had a slide with the different specializations, so that's a really good question. Depending on what you were studying, some of the programs are launched in Sofia or maybe Paris or Lille. So that would be, I'd have to look and see if you were interested in following that specialization, where is that program taking place in France, on which of our three campuses? So I can answer that question. And if you would like to get in touch with me by email, I can look into further and give you some options.
We will give you your contact again at the end, and but people who registered for this Zoom and this webinar received an email, and they're going to receive another one with your contact and also the replay. So they should be able to contact you. Another question from Laurent. It's about, I guess, for students who would come from France or from outside of the country for this BBA, can SKEMA facilitate the immigration procedure to get access to the US territory for the 2 years of the curriculum?
Absolutely. So we do a J1 and F1. Actually, we do F1 visas now. So we offer you and all students around the world. This is new as of this last year, I would say the last 6 months. It's something really to celebrate for our school. We weren't able to do that before. We were doing J1s and F1s only for older students. We offer now the F1 visa to all students around the world. We have been granted that by the Ministry of Education and the accreditation body. So we are recruiting. Any student can come. They must apply. It's an F1 visa that they come on. And because they come on an F1 visa, so you can research F1 visa, because they come on an F1 visa, this allows them also to work in the US for up to 12 months on OPT.
On the OPT system, right? Okay.
Yeah, the OPT system, which is a great opportunity as well. It's part of the requirement for the BBA students to do internships throughout their studies. So they come on an F1, then they can apply for OPT.
Just to clarify, the OPT is for after the diploma, right?
The OPT is for after the diploma.
You graduated.
Yeah, they must do it after they graduate, yes.
Okay. But on the other hand, the visa doesn't allow you to work in the US while you're here, except for some campus, working on campus and some stuff like that.
Yeah, we have work on campus where the students can work. I'm going to check because the F1 for all students is quite new. Yeah, you have to have OPT to apply, which means you must have that after your graduation. So that's for after graduation, they have an OPT. Yeah, but there are opportunities for students to apply to work on campus. A handful of them, there's not a lot because we're not that big, but they can work on campus while they're here on the F1.
And Cecile is asking if the F1 visa is mandatory. I guess if you have, if you need a visa anyway, it works the other way around, right? You get admitted into SKEMA, and then with that you have a visa, basically.
With that you have a visa, yes, the F1 visa.
Okay. So if you don't have any other ways to stay in the US, another visa or a green card, you have to get the F1 visa.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. A question about what happens after. You touched upon that a little bit during your presentation. Where do the students go after they've graduated from this BBA?
Great. Well, so we've got lots of alumni. We've got about 1,000 alumni in the US. We've got 42,000 alumni worldwide. So we rely a lot on our alumni network. And, I was talking about, being a smaller school in the US, we have a lot of flexibility. We're very agile versus some of the bigger schools. We can move really quickly. We can mobilize. So we rely a lot on our alumni community to help us with jobs. So a lot of these students, well, I'll start with the most impressive one. The CEO of Tiffany in New York is a SKEMA alumni. So that's amazing. We have a program called Global Luxury and Management. That's an MSc, a master's program. But we were just there a couple of weeks ago visiting Tiffany, and Andrew was there, and he's a SKEMA alumni, and we had an alumni reunion. It's quite amazing that we have alumni in these high positions. We also have a director of marketing who's the CEO, who's the director of marketing at Jacadi in New York City. So we rely on these alumni to help place our students. So out of our visit, where we took our students to visit Tiffany, 6 landed internships. We took 36. 6 landed internships. That's great. Just like this, like they met with him and they were placed. And he said, hey, I want to give back to SKEMA. I want to give back. It's all about giving back. So we're leveraging our alumni community to do this, whether it's luxury, whether it's digital marketing, finance, entrepreneurship, consulting. We have alumni in places that can help us. In fact, we have a group of finance students this week in New York City doing a Wall Street visit, meaning they're visiting Wall Street, they're visiting with BNP, Societe Generale, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. We've got alumni in these places as well. Part of this week away for the students is so that they can have a week in the city, which is fun, but also see the banks and potentially land internships. And most of the time it's through our alumni network. So we're actively building that, growing that, making outreach. I sent an email today to all of them saying, our FMI, our finance students are graduating. If you have places in your organization, let me know. And right away, oh, we're hiring. You have to bother them and ask them because they're busy, but They'll be like, oh yeah, I've got 3 internships. Send me resumes. So we've got that kind of ability to connect with them and share with them kind of informally. But where are they working? They're working in the US. We've got alumni, students that have graduated here that are working either small startup companies, because a lot of our philosophy is also the entrepreneurship and startup community. So a lot of them want to be part of a startup in the United States. So they're working at small digital marketing or consulting marketing companies, or they're working at finance companies. Credit Suisse is here, Deloitte is here. We're in the Research Triangle Park. That's something else I wanted to mention. I don't know if anybody on the line is familiar with Research Triangle Park, but it is the largest tech park in the United States, bigger than Silicon Valley, believe it or not. It's not California, but we've got a great tech park here with IBM, SAS, Citrix, lots of large companies and small companies. About 750 international companies are here. So our students have opportunities to also knock on those doors. And we have our very own in-house career development office. So my colleague Amanda Chamberlain heads that office. She's with the students in New York right now, but the students get resume, cover letter support, interview skills, workshops all throughout as part of their career management course that all students have to take. So in addition to their courses, they also have to take a career management course, which is, okay, do you have a LinkedIn profile? What does your resume look like? Let me see your cover letter. This is how you write an email. And then, you know, we work on that outreach and networking. I mean, as we all know, networking is key in order to get to the next steps and just make outreach. So using LinkedIn, using the alumni network, and just introducing yourself to companies, you know, proving, you know, to having companies visit us at SKEMA. We have companies come here on site, give presentations. You know, they like to be highlighted on social media, these companies, they want to know. And so they like to meet our students, and everyone is always impressed. I mean, anybody that comes, they say, where did this school come from? Who are these students? Because we're not the typical American university. We are this SKEMA Business School on this American University campus, and everybody's super impressed with our quality of students.
So we have a couple of minutes. So if you have questions, don't hesitate, put them there. David was asking, he saw on the presentation something about artificial intelligence. So
Awesome.
he was curious about that.
Yes. So we all know that we're moving into this, we've moved into this digital or industrial, to this AI world, right? And business is just not cutting it. Like, we all feel it. You know, okay, you can do business, but what about technology? What about data science? What about business analytics? All of that. And so we officially launched this year the AI School for Business. So David, if you have a chance, type in SKEMA AI School for Business. You'll pull up probably the press release on the skema.edu website. But this is who we are today. We have moved into this direction, business and technology, business and AI. We officially launched it today, which means that 2 years ago, we worked on it. 2 to 3 years ago, we worked on it. It's part of our Sky 2025 vision to be the AI school for business, because it's needed. You can't ignore it. You have to ensure that anyone that's studying anything right now is able to work with anything AI or data science. And it's always been that. Data science has been around forever, but now today, how do you prepare your students to make sure? So what does that mean in details? That means that all of our courses have an artificial intelligence component or a data science data component. All of them do. Our faculty are trained now to kind of bring that into the classroom. Now, if the student is really heavily inclined towards artificial intelligence, in 2023, so not this fall, but next fall, 2023, there is the launch of the Bachelor's of Business Administration with an artificial intelligence focus. So the one that we have today is the international business focus. That's the one that starts this fall. That's the one we've had for the last 4 years. We've developed now the artificial intelligence focus. It's a track within the BBA that follows all those AI courses. And those courses are led again by adjunct faculty from the industry, from SAS, from Citrix, from Red Hat, with speakers coming in. And I can show you the curriculum and types of courses. And I can put you in touch, David, with our faculty or our faculty dean who's developing the program. But basically, yes, that is who we are. That is the big announcement. SKEMA is the AI school for business. So in addition to entrepreneurship, which we've been a strong advocate of, in addition to our strong finance, ranking and program, everything is now running, ensuring that we're infusing all of our courses with AI and data courses. Business analytics, business marketing, data analytics, everything is. They have to know. In addition to that, we have a data science club that's been running for the last 2 years, and that's led by one of our professors here who works at SAS and then works here, and he leads this club. We have about 12 members in this club, and as the students, they run monthly or weekly workshops or speaker opportunities. We really push them to engage with the community, bring on the CEO of whatever company to talk about. One thing you might want to look at, which is super helpful, we just had at the end of February an artificial intelligence conference here at SKEMA Raleigh. So you can probably find that on the SKEMA website, AI conference. And we had the chief Global AI officer of IBM that was there. We had the CEO of a company called Prion in the area, which was there. We had a vice president of artificial intelligence from SAS that was there. And then we had our very own vice dean of SKEMA, Patrice Houdaille, that was there. And that was a half-day session talking about how and what SKEMA is doing to push us in this direction and ensure that we're educating our future students to be ready for the revolution of technology that we are in, that we must all know about.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, we're getting to the end of this session. Maybe you want to share your email. Do you have the slide so people can write it down? Anyway, we will put that, all the contact information in the email that you'll receive if you've registered to this webinar. And if you're here, that means you have registered, so you will get the email. You will also be able to have the replay of the entire session. And here you go, Giza.
Yeah, so I'm the director of the campus, along with the campus dean, Mohammed Desoki. So I lead the campus here with Dr. Desoki. My email is gisa.rollin, ROLLIN, @skema.edu. I am Peruvian, actually. I'm from South America, and my husband is French, and both of my kids were born in France. So this is a really nice, again, firm believer of international education, and would love to talk to any parents that are considering an international education at SKEMA here in Raleigh or abroad. And we've just hired a new admissions counselor, Thomas. He just started last week. So you can email me first. Other than that, just go ahead, send me questions. We have another email that's not on here, but I'm going to give it to you. It's admissions Raleigh, admissions with an S, Raleigh, admissions Raleigh @skema.edu, and that goes to both of us. So it's just a common box where we're answering lots of questions from domestic and international students.
Fantastic.
There might be some questions also about the baccalaureate, if you're at a French-American school, if you have the French degree, and there are processes for application that I can share if anyone has any questions.
Which is a different process from the Common App? Or
a little bit. If you're coming from the French-American baccalaureate system, there's something called Parcoursup that students must go through as part of their qualification with the Ministry of Education in France. It all depends on the file of the student. Some of the schools are just strictly American. Okay, so we go through Common App. Some of them are French-American, so we have but I can answer all those questions.
So you can go through Parcoursup even if you apply just to the Raleigh
Well, a good question. The answer is no. Parcours Soup at this time does not include the Raleigh campus. Parcours Soup would be if you wanted to study in Sofia or Lille or Paris or France, you would go through there. If you're really interested in studying in Raleigh, contact me, go through the Common App, send me your file through the Common App, send me a message, and I work with my team locally here to bring on those students in Raleigh. We have students that have joined us from Rochambeau Lycée in Washington, D.C., and we have a student this fall joining us from the French-American Lycée of New York City. So this is really exciting. We love to have our international students join us.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for all of that. Obviously, people can contact you. They have your contact now. You can replay this webinar and get more information on the SKEMA.
Yeah, this is great.
On the side. Thank you, Giza. Stay tuned for more on French Morning. We'll have many more webinars coming, and you can have a lot of information also on the website, frenchmorning.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.